Okay, so we're at Pet Supply Plus here in Murrells Inlet, South Carolina. Different kind of video for us. Susie's recording this, and thank you, Susie, for coming out here today. Uh, I get a lot of questions about what kind of food do you feed your dogs? And I have two of them. I have a pit bull and a Labrador Retriever mix, both rescues from Open Full Paws, by the way. And we're just so grateful to have a partner like Pet Supply Plus that supports the rescue. And so we're going to go inside. We're going to show you some of the things that I feed my dog and our dogs. And we're going to be careful here. Susie, just watch this car. We're going to start off with our kibble. We're going to talk about kibble, what kibble I specifically feed my dogs and why. It's so important. We want to stay away from kibble that when we open the bag up, there are multiple colors, because all that is, it's kind of like feeding your kids Tricks or Fruit Loops. It's all the artificial coloring, and it's just not good for the dogs. It's just not. The two brands that I highly recommend, and this is not a paid endorsement, we don't get paid, I don't get paid, this is simply what I feed my dogs. There's two of them. It's Acana and Orijen, and both of those brands are owned by the same company. The food is made here in the USA, and specifically what I feed my dog, both of them, is the lamb limited ingredient with pumpkin. And pumpkin is highly digestible. It does really well for gut health for the dogs, and that's why I chose it, right? The same way we go to the supermarket and we want to say, okay, what's in this food? And so we'll take the can and we'll read the label and we look at the ingredients. That's what I did investigating my dog food. And you'll notice on these brands, especially the one that I use here, your first ingredient should always be the protein by itself. And this one here, it starts off with lamb, and then it says lamb meal, oats, and so on and so forth. And instead of, if your first ingredient in your food at home says chicken byproduct, that's the chicken beaks, the feathers, the bones, the nails. It's all that stuff. It's usually found in dog food that's less expensive, but certainly nutritionally, it's not as good as what I'm showing you here. So just keep that in mind. This is not cheap dog food. It's expensive, but what I do is, instead of just giving them this, I kind of supplement with some wet food, so I'm not having to use as much as this expensive kibble. The other thing I'll do is I'll feed them out of this slow feeder. So if you have a dog that's super fast when they eat, you might want to take the kibble in their food and spread it around in here, and it's just going to take them a little more time to get through their feeding, okay? How much should I feed my dog? That's up to you and your vet. I mean, you could use the package as a guide. We see a lot in the rescue when dogs, come back for, let's say, injections that they need or some additional medical care. They leave in very good shape and they come back as like fire hydrants, little porkers. It's probably due to either the quality of the food or the quantity of the food. You should be able to feel a little bit of rib on the side of your dog, and when you look over the top of them, there should be a little bit of an hourglass figure with the head here, the chest, and it kind of tapers into the back and the hind quarters. That's really what you want to see for most breeds. But again, check with your veterinarian on how much you should be feeding your dog if you're not really sure. We're going to go around this way here. We're going to look at the supplement, what I use with my dogs, in addition to the Orijen or the Acana. This Stella Chewy company is popping up all over the place. It's a really good food, and it's a meal topper, or you could use it as treats. What it is, it's actually dehydrated. This one happens to be beef. It's 95% beef, and the organs. Super good for the dogs. And so I'll take a little bit of that, and I could mix it in with my kibble over there, because I want some freshness for my dog. I want some really high quality protein on top of the kibble that I'm already giving them. If I want to do something and I want to add, say, some wet ingredients to it, I am a big fan of the Honest Kitchen. They have the whole grain chicken recipe, and what it is, it's a dehydrated chicken. It's the primary ingredient. You add a little bit of water, you mix it up, and then you kind of combine it with the kibble we just showed you before, and you can mix that up. Dogs love it. They absolutely love it, and it's very good for them. If we didn't want to use any one of these two, we're going to go down here and we're going to look at some wet food, which you can mix with the dry kibble, which I really like too. And I'll switch it around every once in a while. I think about eating the same thing over and over every single day. For me, I like to kind of switch it around, and I do it gradually and I do it correctly so it doesn't disrupt my dog's digestive system. But the Orijen has a wet food. You can mix this with your dry kibble, and the dogs will absolutely go crazy for it. And so you throw it on top, you take your spoon, you mix it up, so the wetness gets all over the dry kibble, and they'll eat it up and they'll lick the bowl clean. I promise you, stuff is really, really good. So that's just a couple of ideas of what I feed my dogs. The other thing we have is a raw marrow bone, and I'm going to show you that. So the raw marrow bone is just that. It's a beef bone that they kind of lop off. I love this brand, Primal. I think they make a quality product. But basically, this is the size of the bone. They come in a couple of different sizes. That's about a 4 or 5 inch bone. And in the center of the bone is the beef marrow. Okay? The beef marrow is primarily protein and amino acids. It's super good for the dog. And you can actually reuse this bone. What I do with my dogs is after they've removed all the marrow out of it, I'll take some wet kibble and I'll stuff it back in here. I'll throw it in the freezer, and then I'll use it the next day. This way we're continuing to reuse this bone because they're not cheap. They're about $10, but you could use it over and over and over. I like this bone as opposed to some of the other bones that you may find in the pet stores that have been dipped and then baked in some sort of flavoring. And the problem with that is the bones become very brittle and can be very dangerous, can splinter off as the dogs are chewing. This is much safer, so I love this. If you have a smaller dog, say 30 pounds or less, it's the same bone, it's the same marrow bone, but they cut them into 2-inch pieces. And you could give this to your dog, and you could restuff it the same way I restuffed the larger one for my 2 dogs. Safe, long-lasting, highly reinforcing. If you're going to go out, you're going to go shopping, you have a nervous dog at home, and you want to give them something to keep them busy that they're going to fall in love with and forget that you left the house, this is your answer, I promise you. I've only met one dog out of the hundreds and hundreds of dogs that I've been in contact with that didn't like that. So it's very unusual that they won't go for it. So we're going to swing around this aisle here. We're going to talk about some items that your dogs could chew on that are safe, long-lasting, reinforcing. These bully sticks, and Susie's going to get a close-up of the Red Barn bully stick. There's many different brands out there. They love them. What happens is your dog will chew on them. They become very leathery. It's kind of like chewing on a shoe, if you will, right? And they absolutely love these things. And so you can give them a marrow bone one day, you can give them a bully stick the next day, and kind of mix it all up. The third thing that I love to give my dogs, and they absolutely love this, and again, the Honest Kitchen, are these fish skins. They are great. All it is dehydrated white fish. And it's you have crude protein, crude fat, crude fiber, and some omega-3 fatty acids, which are very, very good for the dogs. I will warn you, though, that they stink to high heaven, but the dogs absolutely love them. They absolutely love them. And lastly, how much should we feed our dogs? I might have mentioned it before. You have to be really careful with the amounts. Generally, I find that whatever the bags recommend or the food, whether they say, oh, well, we recommend 2 cups a day, twice a day for a 50-pound dog. I guess you have to look at your dog and do what I said before. You look at them. If you can feel the ribs, they're in good shape. If you have that hourglass figure, that's also something you want to look for. But if you're really, really unsure if your dog is overweight or not, the next time you go to the vet, ask them. They'll be glad to tell you. They'll guide you through it and let you know how much you should be feeding your dog. There's one other thing that's really cool about Pet Supply Plus. We're going to come back here. They have a dog wash here. You can actually bring your dog here, and you can either wash your dogs yourself, or there is some grooming. So I just want Susie to kind of just take a look back here. So these are pet stations back here, and then they have the dog grooming next door. and it's super cool. So instead of you dirtying up your bathroom, you have a place here at Pet Supply Plus to come take care of your dogs and make sure that they're groomed properly. So that's it on nutrition. That's it on the brands that I feed my dogs. We're going to do another one on chew toys and different things that you can use for your puppies and older dogs. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.